I know you have seen Star Wars The Last Jedi at least once or twice, so now it's time for complete another spoiler review of Star Wars The Last Jedi, because you can't really talk about The Last Jedi without talking spoilers, so here we go. And as I just said, spoilers. So if you're not seeing this movie, go to the theater and go watch Star Wars The Last Jedi. Come on, what's wrong with you? So I talked about my thoughts about The Last Jedi, and I just recently went to go see it again. And I have to say that the first time I watched it, I had a lot of fun going to see it, but it was a very different Star Wars movie. And Force Awakens and Rogue One: A Star Wars Story were both very safe Star Wars movies. They are very close to the original Star Wars movies. And this movie, I felt like it took a lot of risk, and some of it paid off, some of it did not. So let's just talk spoilers. So some of the stuff I want to talk about, first off, is Leia's arc in this movie. First off, Leia has the Force. And I remember I was seeing the movie with a friend, and he was like, wait, how's she doing that? I'm like, she has the Force. And he's like, since when? I said, since always. Because if you go back to the Star Wars timeline, Empire Strikes Back, Luke is calling out to Leia, and Leia can hear him calling. That tells you right there, Leia has the Force. And in Return of the Jedi, whenever Han says, I'm sure Luke wasn't on that thing. And she's like, he wasn't. I can feel it. And she was just never trained as a Jedi. She decided not to go down the same path as her brother. She decided she wanted to help build the Republic with Mon Mothma and help build a Constitution, rebuild the New Republic. And Leia's arc in this movie it's more of her story in this movie is she's trying to pass on to the next generation. And as she is telling Poe, she's like, all right, Poe, we got our transports out of here. Let's go. And Poe's like, no. We have to destroy the ship. This is a fleet killer. And Leia's like, no, we can't do that. And he just disregards her advice and orders. And as soon as she sees him, she slaps him. He's like, we destroyed the ship. And she's like, that doesn't matter. We destroyed one ship, and we've lost most of our ships. We have to think about the next battle. And that's when the Resistance right now is kind of like the Confederacy or the early United States government. Whenever we could go attack the British, or the Confederacy could go attack the Union, but then their resources would be down to a minimum, and then it would just be a harder fought war. That's basically what Leia's trying to do. She doesn't want to attack. She wants to play defense until they can get their allies built up. And Poe just disregards that and throws her kind of future in under balance. And that's one thing I did enjoy about the movie. I was glad we got to see more Oscar Isaac, because I very much enjoyed him in The Force Awakens. And once again, I like that the movie, this new Star Wars movie, was able to show a character of who he is through his actions instead of through dialogue. Because in the prequels, we always heard Anakin was so powerful in the Force. And in Episode 7, Force Awakens, Kyle Reese says, I didn't know we had the best pilot in the Resistance. And you see it in Force Awakens, and you see it once again in this movie as well. My biggest negative of this movie was the Finn and Rose storyline. I like Finn. Finn was probably my favorite character coming out of Star Wars: The Force Awakens, mostly because he was I've said this once, I'll say it again. He was the most original thing about the Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And then they introduced this new character called Rose, a engineer who's kind of set up to be, I think, not in the same mindset, but they're as a character that's very similar to a Lando Calrissian's character in Empire Strikes Back. And when I was watching the second time, I was noticing she had her own little theme to it, just like Lando did in Empire Strikes Back. And I like her character. I just do not care for the love story they decided to kind of tell. It's not a love story like Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, is a love story between Anakin and Padme. And there were some very cheesy moments between Finn and Rose. And I think you could tell the romance is definitely one-sided. And also, I just did not care for Space Vegas. That took me out of the movie. And when I watched it again, I still don't like it. And also, it felt very preachy to me. whenever they're talking about the animals or talking about war. And the beautiful thing about Star Wars in episodes, in the original trilogy and even in the prequel trilogy, is that the original trilogy, George Lucas set out to make a movies that was kind of that talked about the Vietnam War in a very undertoned way where you would not even know he was talking about it. You would have to do deep now study of the original trilogy of Star Wars to get references to the Vietnam War. And even in the prequels, George Lucas once again set out to make movies where it was about the Iraqi War in Afghanistan, and once again but in this one, it's so friggin' obvious. And Star Wars is a fairy tale. It begins with the words, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." It's just like saying, once upon a time in a land very far away, something amazing happened. And that's what Star Wars is. I don't need to be, that took me out of the movie, and I think it's going to take me out of the movie every time I see it again. We gotta talk about good old Luke Skywalker. Rey finds him, she sees she gives him his lightsaber, and he just throws it away. And I was very interested in seeing Luke Skywalker because Luke Skywalker is the hero of most movies. I think he is one of the greatest heroes of all time. And Return of the Jedi, Luke's arc in that movie is so fantastic. And you're always wondering, why did Luke just hide away? And it's because he feels like he failed. What do Jedi do whenever they fail really miserably? In Revenge of the Sith, Yoda says, "Exile I must go. Failed I have." He has to go into exile because he feels like he's failed the galaxy. And that's exactly what Luke does in this movie as well. And Rey's like, you gotta come back. You gotta help. You have to save the galaxy from the First Order, from your nephew. And he's like, no, the Jedi have to end. And Mark Hamill does such an amazing job in this movie. I thought he was the best performance of this entire movie. There was nothing but hands out about that. I thought he was so great in this movie. And then seeing him at the end of the movie when he is whenever he projects a hologram or something over to the planet to fight Kylo Ren to give the Resistance enough time to escape. I thought that was great as well. And I was just like, I didn't know you could do that with the Force. That's pretty cool. But when I first saw it, I was like, wait a minute, that's Anakin's lightsaber. That lightsaber just got destroyed. So how is he using that lightsaber? So in my head, I was already thinking, I was like, what? And that could throw me off a little bit, but I never expected. I was like, well, maybe he just built a lightsaber just like his father's. There's all kinds of stuff you could throw up because a lot of lightsabers do look very similar. And the poetic ending of Luke Skywalker's character was just amazing. He's sitting there, he's basically dying, and you hear binary sunsets, and you see the two suns, and that's the most emotional I got in this movie. I absolutely love that scene, and that's a scene. Luke Skywalker is not my favorite Star Wars hero, but every time I probably watch this movie, I probably like his character even more and more. And then also cool about Luke's arc is we got to see Yoda again. And we got more great Yoda quotes in this movie. It's like, third pages, they were not. And Yoda was back to that Empire Strikes Back Yoda we saw in the original trilogy. The joking, the man speaking in riddles. And I'm glad they used the puppet. I'm glad they did not CGI it. They brought Frank Oz back to voice, and he did such a good job. The puppeteer work in this movie was amazing for Yoda. I absolutely love that. And like I said, Yoda's a great Star Wars character, and he's a great supporting character who gives you great advice. And I love that scene so much. Rey's arc in this movie is a very interesting arc because like the same guy I mentioned earlier, he was talking about how Rey was a Mary Sue. And I'm like, we don't know if she's a Mary Sue because we've only seen 2 chapters of a 3-chapter book. And for now, if they don't explain in episode 9, she's a Mary Sue. She is. I mean, there has to be a reason why she is so powerful and why she's picking it up so much quickly. Like in Empire Strikes Back, there was like a 3-year time jump in between Episode 4 and Empire Strikes Back. So Luke was learning, he got a little more powerful through those arcs. But this movie takes place like right after the events of Force Awakens. So I think this movie probably would have served a little better if Rey was training under Luke for like 2 years, and then she comes back really powerful, a little more powerful in the fourth. That would have made more sense. But the way they did it didn't really make too much sense. But the way Luke is telling Rey is like, Rey, I'm going to show you I want to teach you 3 lessons, and I'm going to tell you why the Jedi need to end. A great scene in this movie was whenever Kylo Ren says, I know who your family is. He's like, you know who they are too, don't you? And then she's like, they were nobody. They were just scavengers on Jakku who sold her off so they could get some money to drink. That's who her parents were. And I know what? Most people want her to be a Skywalker. Most people want her to be a Kenobi. Some people want her to be, I don't know, something else. Maybe something connected to the larger galaxy. We still don't know, technically. She may not even know who her true family was. And until we see the end of episode 9, we may not know. They could just throw a twist in there. But I kind of like that she is connected to nobody. Because you know why? The great people in the history of our world were not connected to anybody. They had no family history. George Washington did not become George Washington because his father was a great man who was the king of America. No, George Washington was able to rise on his own and become the hero of the nation and become one of our greatest presidents. But he wasn't connected to anybody. I think you can tell that story about any person in history. And so I like that they stuck to their guns and said, well, maybe we don't want to do it. Maybe we just scrap who she's connected to. But who knows? She may be connected to Luke or Han or Leia or somebody in the next movie. Maybe that's why Leia's so attached to Rey in these 2 movies. And then I think the arc I really want to talk about is Kylo Ren. A lot of people call Kylo Ren very annoying, but I found myself very invested in this person's future because Star Wars is in a sense the story of the Skywalkers. The prequel trilogy was the tragedy of Darth Vader. The original trilogy is the story of Luke Skywalker bringing balance to the Force. And if this new trilogy is about Rey, I don't see that right now. I think his story is about Ben Solo because he is our only Skywalker in this story. And if Kathleen Kennedy's right, this is the story of the Skywalkers. And Kylo Ren's arc in this movie is so good. He is so haunted by what he did in Episode 7 when he killed his dad. And I very much enjoyed what he did in this movie. And he's being tempted by Snoke, and Snoke's just like, you're nothing. You're just a pale imitation of Darth Vader. And I felt like I saw the true essence of the dark side. I haven't seen in any Star Wars movie, but stuff I've read from like Darth Plagueis and Darth Bane, the Rule of Two, where the old EU Rule of Two was 2 there should be, 1 to embody a power, the other to crave it. In the Sith lore, the apprentice always kills the master. And when we see Kylo Ren kill Snoke, it wasn't as a they just did the reverse of Return of the Jedi, where instead of Vader destroying the Emperor to save his son, Kylo Ren destroys Snoke so he could rule the galaxy himself. And that's a great villain in my book. And that's why you get it's the best essence of the dark side I think I've seen in any Star Wars movie, to be perfectly honest. And when I was watching it again today, I was blown away once again by what I was seeing from Adam Driver as this character. I love Kylo Ren in this movie. This also was the first Star Wars movie we did not have a lightsaber versus lightsaber action in this movie. There are other stuff to talk about. I could go on and on forever. I am sad to kill Akbar off. I mean, that is a character I don't think they should have killed off. But hey, if they're going to kill him off that way. It just felt a little. It felt a little impersonal to me because Akbar is just such a great character in the Star Wars universe. I am curious what they're going to do for Episode 9. I'm curious to see how this trilogy ends up. I hope they decide to jump in the future for Episode 9. Let's go like 2 or 3 years into the future. Let's see Kylo Ren have. We'll see Supreme Commander or the Lord Commander, whatever Snoke's title was, and let's see Kylo Ren become more powerful in the dark side. Let's see him have a dark apprentice or something that's not Rey. Because I understand Kylo Ren's motivations in this movie. He wanted to kill Snoke and have Rey as his apprentice to continue the rule too, or however the way you want to look at it. But I loved elements of this movie. It's not a perfect Star Wars movie. I don't know if I like it. I don't even think I like it better than... I don't think it's better than Force Awakens. I don't think it's better than Rogue One. But there are some really great Star Wars moments. And like I said in my other review, this is a movie that reminded me a lot of Battlestar Galactica. Especially the first episode of the technical season of the first season of Battlestar Galactica, where they're tracking the ship through hyperspace. I thought that was very interesting. And the hyperspace kamikaze, I love that. Like I said, I could talk about this movie forever. But I think it's time to finally get my grade for this movie. I'm going to give Star Wars The Last Jedi an A-. A lot of negatives just kind of hurt the movie in whole. And also, Benicio del Toro's character was kind of wasted. I think he could have been something a little cooler. He could have been a Admiral Thrawn type of character, or even send a character like a Sith Lord or something, I don't know, or even just a bounty hunter. I think his voice would have fit better, like a Boba Fett. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. So guys, have you seen the Star Wars The Last Jedi? What are your thoughts? Comment below, let me know. Tell me in spoilers what you thought of this movie and how does it rank in the Disney regime of the Star Wars property so far. So guys, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button, subscribe to see more, tell your friends about Easy Nation. May the Force be with you. Always.